just want to recap. The Avs won their first playoff game against the Phoenix Coyotes.
Arizona. They changed their name to Arizona a couple years ago. They play in Glendale, which
Ah,
is the same place that the Arizona Cardinals play,
Mhm.
so they decided to change the name to Arizona. The team that is always threatening to be moved because they have no fans and they never really have an ownership group. If you can't tell, we're outside again for this podcast.
yeah.
You might hear some cars or motorcycles.
An
But
immersive experience.
so Arizona Coyotes, 11 best team in the West coming into the bubble experience. Ended up getting an upset in their first round, so they're playing the Avalanche, known as a slow down team, and really prided on their defensive ability, top 5 defensive team in the NHL. But the Avs were 6th in the NHL in defense, so the disparity is not quite there because the Avs, with one of the best offenses in the league, come in first 2.5 periods. The Avs are dominating in shots. The game ends 37-14 in shots. That is the fewest shots the Avs have given up in the history of the franchise going back to Quebec. They've never only given up 14 shots before. So the defense is rolling. They're getting all of the shots. But Darcy Kemper, old nemesis from the Minnesota series 6 years ago, who helped steal that series from the Avs
Was that 6 years ago?
6 years ago, 2014.
My God.
Playing strong. The Avs take a penalty late, end up killing that off, I guess, within like the last 12 minutes. Then they get their own power play, score on that power play. It was a similar goal to the goal that Nazem Kadri scored to end that Blues game. He was in front of the net, able to put it in. It was very big, bing bang. 10 seconds later, they score again. JT Compher. They're suddenly up 2-0, 6.5 minutes left, and then a minute later, all these goals happen within a minute and 23 seconds. The top line gets a goal. Landeskog gets crushed, able to get the puck over to McKinnon, who finds Rantanen alone in front of the net, and suddenly they're up 3-0 and cruising to their first victory.
And that's so cool. I mean, the Avs have had now a few wins that are like, okay, we belong here. Whereas all of the Nuggets games in the bubble have been up and down. You know, you get 3 full periods from the Avs in a few games. We've not gotten more than like 2.5 full quarters from the Nuggets.
And it's never the first quarter.
Never the first quarter. I miss. Yeah, we had talked about like the first half of a basketball game doesn't matter at all.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while, you can just feel good about it, and I miss those feelings.
So it's a good win. I wanted to focus for a second on Erik Johnson, defenseman for the Avalanche, number 1 defenseman for years. He was traded to the Avs in 2011. So we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Erik Johnson joining the Colorado Avalanche next spring. And he's had to go through all of the rebuilding. He was around for the Joe Sacco years. He was around for the Waugh years and now the Bednar years. He has seen Duchesne leave. He's seen, the worst and the best when they were the number 1 team in the West. So it's been just all over the place for Erik Johnson. And now he's no longer the high-profile defenseman. He's been moved basically to the second or third pairing, depending on the day, but has 8 shots in that game last night, including an assist, and really seems determined to help this team win. This is the guy that you root for. He was a number 1 pick for St. Louis. They ended up trading him because it wasn't working out. Like, never as good of a player as anyone hoped he would be, but an American hero in a lot of ways, like plays for Team USA, and a guy you can root for. So in, like, guys that may not have a lot more chances to get their first Stanley Cup, Erik Johnson's at the top of that list.
Nice. So he won't be like a Ray Bork raising the...
No, not
cup,
one of the
but-
greatest defensemen of all time. Not even one of the greatest defensemen in Avalanche history, but, like, a guy that deserves to win for all that he's given to the Avalanche over the years.
Sure. Like, the same way that fans feel like, I've rooted for this team for so long, I deserve this. He's a guy who wouldn't be a standout on any given season, but the cumulative, it's like, yes, we wouldn't raise his jersey into the rafters, but, play a song for him or something.
And he's the longest tenured Avalanche. He beats out Landeskog by a few months from that draft. So it really is a interesting situation, and just also really hard to believe he's been on the team for 10 years because that was such a big trade at the time. The Avs gave up Chris Stewart and Kevin Shattenkirk, so it was quite a trade at the time to try to shake things up. The Avs play, as I mentioned, back-to-back this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and then they play Monday. There's a chance that, like, if they play all the games like this, there's a pretty good chance that it could be a 4 or 5 game series. But, of course, it's the playoffs, and Darcy Kemper is the kind of goalie that can steal a game or two. And, the Avs can get in their own way. But really good start from the Avs. If it was the first time they've won the first game in the last 3 years. They lost the first game to Nashville, lost the first game to the Flames, 4-0, which was just a heartbreaking game, and then they won the next 4, and they lost the first game to San Jose. So winning that first game, since they lost 2 out of those 3 series, is a pretty big deal.